Hi guys, how we doing? It's Coach John here and welcome to this week's Whiteboard Wednesday. Quick one for you today, just looking at monitoring and testing with regards to our training framework. So for me, this is an area where a lot of people tend to fall down with the professional realm. They don't actually monitor what's going on in their training, and then they don't test to see if what they've been trying to develop has actually worked and they've gone better. So today I'm going to give you guys a quick overview looking at each individual area. So the first question a lot of people ask me is like, well, what's the difference between monitoring and testing? Well, monitoring is a little bit more removed. It's ongoing, so thing at a colloquial level. So you're looking at things at progress and quality of work over a longer period of time. Whereas with testing, it's a snapshot view just to see what you've been working on has gotten better. So it puts you under some duress. It's a maximal testing most of the time. So those are the general differences we see between the two. So what can we look at with regards to monitoring? Well, with monitoring, we can look at two aspects. One, we can look at it from the physical standpoint, but we can also look at it from a wellness standpoint. So simple things we can look at for physical monitoring would be like total distance covered. A lot of endurance-based athletes, so ultra runners, marathon runners, Ironman, triathletes, they really focus on like total distance covered. So how much have they covered in a week or within a month of that training block, and how's that varied week to week? From the S&C side of things, we can look at things such as like total load lifted per session, and then we can look at that as a total tonnage over the training block as well, and we generally want to see that step increase throughout. Other things here could be RP as well within that. So what is RP? It's just the rate of physical exertion. So it's very subjective and it's based upon how you feel for that individual session. So you can either look at it as a total session. So I could say, look, I've gone and done conditioning on a scale of 1 to 10, 1 being super easy, 10 being like maximal competitive output. That conditioning really put me at about an 8. And I can see where they sit with regards to that. Or I could do it as a breakdown in each section of that training session. So let's say I'm at judo or jits and I want to rank it individually. So the warm-up could have been 15 minutes and that could be pretty easy, like an RP of 4. And then what my condition, like drill-in sort of stuff, a little bit faster, probably about 5 to 6. And then that lasted about 45 minutes, and then we're into an hour of hard rolling, which I'm going to say is going to be 8 or 9. So if I'd say it's about an 8 for that, 4 for the warm-up, 6 conditioning, it's going to give me an average sessional load of around about 6 to 7 on that, okay? So I can just start to see how those sessions are in terms of difficulty, and I can track out throughout the week of where the hard sessions are and where the easier sessions are, and then therefore does it match up, especially from a coaching aspect. If I've said, right, this session for this athlete is going to be a pretty easy technical session, I want them to be about a 4 or 5, and they suddenly report in and say, look, actually it was an 8 or a 9, I know I've done something wrong and we need to go back and evaluate that session as well and look at the wider coaching team. So this ties in as well with total training loads, so we can use that. So we can times our RP number by the number of minutes we've trained, and that'll give us a total training load for that session, and we can look at that from training from block to block as well as week to week. This is a really important aspect I find a lot of people miss out on because of guys going from amateur to say semi-pro or professional level. So there's certain metrics we want our guys to be able to hit. That could be speed, that could be a conditioning number like on a test, it could be a total weight lifted by position. But one thing we typically miss out as coaches is what happens to the athlete when they go from training as an amateur, where they've got other commitments such as work or school life, and they're training maybe 10 hours a week, and then suddenly throw them into professional setup and they're suddenly training 20 hours a week or 30 hours a week. That's a lot more training stress on the body. That's when we start to see soft tissue injuries and stuff like that. So it's just like, right, not only do we need them to hit these physical metrics, but we also need to have them prepared to step up and meet the demands of training as a full-time pro. So that's covering the physical side of things, but we can also look at things tapping into the more wellness side of things. So sleep, that can either be sleep duration or sleep quality, just to see how we're recovering. Muscle soreness, so if we're adversely sore, how's that going to impact the coming session and what adjustments do we need to make? And finally, we can look at heart rate on that. So this could be tied into a physical factor as well. If you want, testing your heart rate throughout the session, but we can also look at it for heart rate variability. And that is just simply, how much does your heart rate vary from day to day? What is your baseline? So you want to take this in the morning for about a minute just before you get up, lying there, see what it is, track it over a number of days so you can get an average, and then suddenly if you see it starts spiking, you know you can start getting into that overtraining realm, okay, and then you can just start throttling back on training. But it gives you things to consider within that. So that covers monitoring. Let's look at testing now. Now, touched on numerous factors here, so we can look at things like strength, power, speed, and conditioning. So typically for strength testing, we want to test maximal strength output, so that's anywhere between 1 to 5 reps. If I've got a more experienced athlete, yeah, I really want them to push for that 1 RM because I know they've got the experience and I trust them. They know where their limits are going to lie and whereabouts they can push to. For guys who are less experienced, I generally push for more of a 3 RM to a 5 RM, and all this generally gives me is off ramps to that athlete. So say they hit rep number 2 of a 3 RM test and then know for sure they're not getting a third, they can rack the bar up, whereas with 1 RM, it's all or nothing. With power, it's simple enough. You can do for a counter movement jump or squat jump, or you can even throw in a broad jump there as well. So not only are you getting stronger, but can you express this force quickly enough? And that's from a budget end. If you've got force plates or gym wear or something like that, you can look at things like rate of force development, or with the OptiJump and that, you can look at RSI, so how quickly can that athlete utilize that elastic energy and reproduce force into the ground. Speed, anywhere between 10 to 40 meters we want to look at here for our field sport or court sport athletes as well. We're not interested in 100 meters for guys who are non-track athletes. Very much a lot of time is going to be shorter accelerations up into that middle saw distance of sprinting. And then finally, conditioning. So this depends on who you are. If you're a tactical athlete, you know, it could be something like the bleep test or the 1.5 mile run test. So you can see where you are at and if your training regimen's actually helping you get better for that. If you're, say, a rugby athlete or a more intermittent sport athlete, you may do yo-yo test, which is about high activity of intermittent bits of rest in there as well. So it gives you a chance just to accelerate out, come back in, short break, and then accelerate out again. And that's similar to the bleep test, just jumps up in levels higher and a quicker rate as well, so it's more demanding. And then finally, which I'd say more towards my grappling sport athletes like judo and jits, is a 2K ergo, like rowing test, is a really suitable one for testing guys, because generally most people will finish up around about 6 to 7 minutes. Ties in well with what a fight will be. And I think from my perspective, having dealt with grappling sport athletes, it's something they're pretty bad at for actually testing, where they're conditioning that. Like they'll come off the mat and be like, oh, you know, I'm feeling strong, I'm feeling fit. And that's awesome because it's the most specific thing you can get to your sport. But it's also highly subjective. So on the factor of like, were you just really on today and was your training partner sandbagging? Or if you've had a really bad day, you know, are you feeling fatigued from multiple training sessions and your partner had a really good day? And also tying in things like tactics, whereas at least for this, it's an all or nothing test and it gives you an objective number to go off. So say if you, in high competitive period, your 2K row time is 6:50, and then during your course of training, you know, building up into the competitive season, you're pulling in a 7:15. You know you're well off the pace, but it gives you an actual snapshot number of where you need to be with regards to your fitness and where you could tailor your training to a bit more. Okay guys, so once again, really short, sharp video on monitoring and testing protocols you can use. Hope you guys found this video insightful. If you liked it, please give it a like. If you want to share it out across your team, please feel free to do so. Again, subscribe on to the channel as well. And thank you very much for tuning in. I'll see you guys next week.